First Contact Fallout. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Alliance sprawled across nearly 2 kilometers of the massive station, orbiting Centauri Prime. Its vaulted ceilings, designed to accommodate species ranging from the diminutive Zell, barely reaching 1 meter in height, to the towering Morcadian delegates whose crested heads brushed the 15-meter mark. The architectural marvel represented 5,000 years of peaceful cooperation among the 37 recognized sentient species of the Orion Arm. Humanity had been part of this august body for exactly 26 standard months. Commander Alina Reyes stood perfectly still at the back of the Earth delegation's modest platform, her military posture betraying none of the frustration coursing through her veins. As military attaché to Ambassador Toshiro Nakamura, she'd spent most of those 26 months watching aliens condescend to humanity with thinly veiled contempt. The human proposal for expanded security measures in the Cygnus sector is, with all due respect to our enthusiastic new members, premature and unnecessary, droned High Counselor Drexen of the Paloran Collective, his translucent appendages waving dismissively. The Alliance has maintained peace for millennia through careful diplomacy and mutual respect, not military posturing. Ambassador Nakamura, a 70-year-old veteran diplomat with unshakable composure, nodded thoughtfully. High Counselor, we value the Alliance's peaceful traditions deeply. Earth merely suggests that the unusual gravitational anomalies recently detected might warrant investigation. Our scientists have observed patterns consistent with— Your scientists, interrupted Matriarch Zivnara of the Lildaran Conclave, her violet skin flushing a deeper purple with barely contained amusement, have been studying the stars for what, 300 of your years? My species charted the Cygnus sector before your ancestors discovered fire. Polite tittering echoed through the chamber. Commander Reyes kept her face neutral while mentally calculating how quickly Earth's 7th Fleet could reach this station if necessary. Old habits died hard. As the delegation returned to their quarters after another fruitless session, Lieutenant Haruki Chen, Rey's intelligence officer, fell into step beside her. Another productive day spreading human wisdom across the stars, Commander. I'm beginning to think we should have sent kindergartners instead of diplomats, Reyes muttered. They'd at least get patted on the head instead of dismissed completely. Ambassador Nakamura, walking ahead with his aides, turned slightly. Patience, Commander. They see us as children because that serves their purposes. The Alliance species evolved over millions of years before achieving spaceflight. We did it in less than 10,000. Our accelerated development frightens them, though they'd never admit it. Their conversation halted as they reached the modest suite that served as Earth's embassy. Unlike the sprawling compounds of older Alliance members with their customized atmospheres and gravity settings, the human quarters were utilitarian, another subtle reminder of their status as newcomers. Inside, the public facade dropped. Update from Home Command, announced Captain Joanna Ockhaffer, communications specialist, the moment the doors sealed behind them. Her fingers danced across a secured terminal that had been thoroughly vetted to ensure it couldn't be monitored by Alliance technology. The anomalies in Cygnus have intensified. 3 more have appeared near Proxima Centauri. Exactly as projected, said Nakamura, his diplomatic pleasantries replaced by sharp focus. And the Council remains willfully blind. Commander Reyes moved to the central holographic display. Show me. The room darkened as a 3-dimensional map of nearby space materialized. Red markers pulsed at specific points, forming a pattern that even a first-year tactical cadet would recognize. It's a staging formation, Reyes stated flatly. Someone's preparing for a multi-vector approach to Alliance territory, and they're starting with systems closest to Earth. Almost as if they consider us the greatest threat, mused Nakamura. How flattering. Lieutenant Chen expanded a section of the display. The Alliance species evolved in relatively stable star systems. They never developed the paranoia that shaped human military thinking. We spent millennia fighting ourselves, preparing for threats that might never come. And now we're the only ones prepared for a threat that's definitely coming, Reyes concluded. Has the UEF received any response to our private warnings to individual alliance members? Captain Ockhaffer's expression tightened. The Morcadians suggested we focus on trade agreements more appropriate to our development level. The Thuldarans wondered if our sensors needed recalibration. The Palorans didn't respond at all. Ambassador Nakamura sighed, suddenly looking every one of his 70 years. 26 months trying to convince them we're worth listening to, and we've made almost no progress. Then perhaps it's time to demonstrate rather than convince, suggested Reyes, a dangerous edge to her voice. Commander, Nakamura cautioned, the United Earth Federation was quite clear that we maintain our diplomatic cover at all costs. If the Alliance discovers the true extent of our military capabilities. The conversation halted as emergency lights suddenly pulsed throughout their quarters. Captain Ockaffer rushed to her console as Alliance-wide alerts blared through the station. Multiple attacks reported, she announced, eyes widening. Paloran Colony World Zendi's Prime, Theldar Scientific Outpost in the Rigel System, and Gods, a direct strike on Morcadian homeworld defenses. The room fell silent as they processed the implications. These weren't random targets. They were the home systems of the 3 council members who had most vocally dismissed Earth's warnings. Casualties? Asked Nakamura quietly. Preliminary reports indicate thousands, possibly tens of thousands, Ockaffer replied. The Alliance defense grid was completely unprepared. Most systems were on minimal alert status. Commander Reyes straightened. Ambassador, I request permission to contact Home Command for new directives. This changes everything. Before Nakamura could respond, their communication system chimed with an incoming Alliance-wide broadcast. The Grand Arbiter of the Council, a Zithrian whose age was measured in centuries, appeared on screen. His normally silver skin had paled to an ashen gray. An emergency session of the Grand Council will commence in 1 standard hour, he announced, his translated voice steady despite the clear signs of stress in his physiological responses. All diplomatic and military representatives are required to attend. The Alliance faces an unprecedented crisis. As the message ended, Lieutenant Chen's secure communicator buzzed. He checked it and looked up, face grim. Commander, Ambassador, Home Command has sent new directives. Operation Shadow Veil is now active. Ambassador Nakamura closed his eyes briefly. So we're dropping the charade. Not entirely, corrected Reyes, reviewing the encoded instructions. We're to maintain diplomatic protocols while activating our intelligence network throughout Alliance space. The UEF Dreadnought Thermopylae and its battle group have already departed Earth space, officially for training exercises. And unofficially, asked Captain Ockaffer. Commander Rey's expression hardened into something the Alliance species had never seen on a human diplomat, the look of a predator preparing to hunt. Unofficially, they're deploying to coordinates exactly matching our predicted attack vectors. Earth knew this was coming, and we've been preparing while the Alliance debated whether we deserve a seat at the adults' table. Ambassador Nakamura smoothed his formal diplomatic robes. Then it seems we have an emergency session to attend, where we will express our deepest sympathies and offer whatever modest assistance our young species can provide. Yes, Ambassador, Commander Reyes replied, the perfect image of a subordinate military attaché once more. Only those who knew her well could see the predatory gleam remained in her eyes. We'll offer our humble assistance while our fleets move into position. As they prepared to rejoin the Alliance Council, Lieutenant Chen muttered what they were all thinking. They thought we were diplomatic children playing at galactic politics. They're about to learn that humans evolved from apex predators who never lost their teeth. The Earth delegation stepped out of their quarters, masks of diplomatic concern firmly in place, while behind them encrypted communications raced toward Earth with a simple message. Sentinel Protocol authorized. The hunt begins. The Shadow War. Admiral Darius Wells stood motionless on the observation deck of the UEF Thermopylae, hands clasped behind his back as he stared into the void. The massive dreadnought, officially listed in Alliance registries as a peacekeeping vessel, with modest defensive capabilities, housed enough firepower to level a small moon. This deliberate misdirection represented humanity's approach to galactic politics perfectly. Present a non-threatening face while preparing for the worst. "Status report," he said without turning. Captain Valentina Roscov approached, her footsteps precise against the polished deck. "Battle group is maintaining position at the edge of the Tau Ceti system, Admiral. We're outside regular Alliance patrol routes, but within rapid response range of all major populated worlds. And our stealth measures? Fully operational. The quantum diffusion field is masking our energy signatures. As far as anyone can tell, we're running standard engines at minimal output, just a routine training exercise." Admiral Wells nodded. The quantum diffusion technology, developed after studying mysterious ship disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle centuries earlier, remained humanity's closest guarded secret. Alliance species had never encountered anything like it, which was precisely the point. "And our intelligence assets." Captain Roscov handed him a secured datapad. "Reports coming in from all networks. Commander Reyes has activated her sleeper cells throughout Alliance space. We have eyes and ears in 17 strategic locations, including," she lowered her voice, though they were alone, "3 within the Krivax Dominion's territory." This earned a rare smile from the Admiral. The Krivax, a species officially unknown to the Galactic Alliance, had been under human surveillance since Earth's first tentative steps into interstellar space. While Alliance diplomats welcomed humanity with condescending guidance, Earth's deep reconnaissance vessels had been mapping territories far beyond Alliance borders, identifying potential threats long before announcing their presence to the galactic community. "Let's see what our shadow warriors have found," Wells said, activating the datapad. The holographic display flared to life, projecting data from Earth's covert operatives. Images of sleek obsidian vessels with distinctive red energy signatures. Transmission intercepts in an encrypted language. Supply chain analyses showing suspicious resource movements. And most damning, footage of Krivax commanders meeting with known black market arms dealers from within the Alliance. "They've been planning this for years," Roscov observed. "The attack pattern suggests they've studied Alliance defense protocols extensively." "They didn't just study them," Wells corrected, enlarging one particular file. "They helped design them." The file revealed correspondence between Krivax operatives using false identities and Alliance Defense Committee members. For over a decade, Krivax agents had positioned themselves as security consultants, gradually influencing Alliance defense strategies to create exploitable weaknesses. "Classic infiltration tactics," the Admiral continued. "Something we humans perfected fighting each other long before reaching the stars. The Alliance species evolved through cooperation. They lack our instinctive understanding of deception." His communicator chimed with an encrypted alert from Alliance headquarters. Captain Roscov glanced at her own device. "The emergency session has concluded," she reported. "As expected, they've formed a crisis response committee to assess the situation and formulate appropriate measures." Wells' expression hardened. Translation: "They'll debate while more worlds burn." Ambassador Nakamura reports the Earth delegation has been assigned observer status only on the committee. Our recommendations will be given all due consideration. The Admiral's laugh held no humor. How generous of them, and our intelligence about the Krivax involvement. Submitted through official channels and classified as speculative information requiring verification. Wells turned back to the viewport, eyes fixed on the distant stars. How many more attacks does intelligence predict before they acknowledge the pattern? "At least 3 more major strikes within the next 72 hours, Roscov answered grimly. "Estimated casualties in the hundreds of thousands." The Admiral's jaw tightened. Unacceptable. He activated his command interface, authorizing his highest security protocols. "Contact Commander Reyes. Tell her to proceed with Operation Looking Glass. Then notify all battle group commanders. Move to Condition Yellow. Weapons systems on standby but maintain stealth protocols." Captain Roscov hesitated. Sir, those orders contradict the diplomatic directive from Earth Central Command. We're instructed to await Alliance consensus before. I'm well aware of my orders, Captain, Wells interrupted calmly. I'm also aware that every minute we wait means more civilian casualties. We'll maintain our cover, but I want our forces ready when, not if, the Alliance fails to act in time. Yes, Admiral, she replied, recognizing the steel in his voice. As Roscoe departed to relay his commands, Wells returned his attention to the intelligence reports, particularly the detailed profiles of Krivak's military capabilities. Their technology roughly matched the Alliance's most advanced systems, impressive but not insurmountable. What made them truly dangerous was their strategy. They thought like humans, employing deception, misdirection, and asymmetric warfare. They were predators like humanity. The difference was that humans had spent thousands of years fighting against their own predatory nature, developing ethical constraints alongside their weapons. The Krivaks embraced their instincts without restraint. Know your enemy, Wells murmured, an ancient maxim still taught at Earth's military academies. His secure terminal activated with an incoming transmission from Earth. The stern face of General Imani Okoro, chair of the United Earth Federation Joint Chiefs, appeared on screen. Admiral, I've received your preliminary deployment orders, she stated without preamble. You're positioning for combat operations, not observation. Wells met her gaze directly. The situation is developing rapidly, General. I'm ensuring we have options. Options that contravene our carefully constructed diplomatic strategy, Okoro noted, though her tone remained neutral. The Council doesn't know our true capabilities. That's by design. With respect, General, I believe that design may cost innocent lives. The Alliance defense protocols are compromised. The Krivaks have ensured the Council will be too slow to respond effectively. General Okoro studied him silently for a moment. Your assessment is shared by our analysis teams. However, revealing our military capacity prematurely could have far-reaching consequences for Earth's position in the Alliance. Better that than allowing preventable massacres, Wells countered. We have the means to stop this aggression now. The general's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes shifted. I understand your position, Admiral. Officially, your orders remain unchanged. Maintain observation status and support Alliance efforts as requested. She paused, then added, however, I'm authorizing you to use your discretion should the tactical situation deteriorate significantly. Earth Central will trust your judgment on what constitutes significant deterioration. Wells understood perfectly. Thank you, General. I'll ensure any actions we take are proportionate. See that you do, Okoro replied. And Darius, remember that how we fight this war may determine humanity's place in the galaxy for centuries to come. As the transmission ended, Admiral Wells turned back to the star field beyond the viewport. Somewhere out there, Krivak's warships were preparing their next strikes, confident in the Alliance's predictably sluggish response. They had no idea they were being hunted by a species they'd never encountered, a species that had perfected warfare against itself before turning its gaze to the stars. His communicator chimed with an update from Commander Ray's team at Alliance headquarters. Crisis Committee deadlocked on response protocols. No action authorized for minimum 36 hours pending further assessment. Simultaneously, intelligence forwarded intercepted Krivak's communications, indicating an accelerated attack timeline. The next strikes would begin within 14 hours. Admiral Wells made his decision. Captain Roscoe, he called, knowing she would respond immediately through the ship's communication system. Implement Shadow Protocol across all battle groups. Deploy scout drones to these coordinates. He transmitted the predicted attack vectors from intelligence. And prepare strike teams for covert deployment. Preparing for combat operations, Admiral? She asked, her voice carefully neutral. No, Captain, Wells replied with grim determination. Preparing to hunt. The Alliance may not recognize predators in their midst, but we do. We've been fighting them in our own hearts since we first picked up a stone as a weapon. As the massive dreadnought quietly came alive around him, systems powering up without betraying their energy signatures to long-range scanners. Admiral Wells reflected on humanity's unique position. The Alliance saw them as diplomatic children playing at galactic politics, but they had never witnessed Earth's capacity for warfare, or its equal capacity for justice. "The Krivaks think they're the apex predators in this galaxy," he murmured. "They're about to learn they're mistaken." Throughout the ship, elite combat teams began final preparations, checking advanced weapon systems that Alliance specifications claimed didn't exist. Stealth fighters were fueled and armed in launching bays that officially served as cargo holds. And in the intelligence center, analysts compiled target packages for precision strikes against Krivak's command nodes. The Shadow War had begun, and humanity was hunting. Operation Thunderstrike. Orbital Command Station Helios hung in geosynchronous orbit above the Alliance colony world Lumeria, officially designated as a civilian research outpost. The station's modest profile and unremarkable energy signature ensured it attracted minimal attention from passing vessels, precisely as intended. Deep within its secure operations center, Lieutenant Commander Nadia Volkov monitored an array of holographic displays showing Krivak's fleet movements. As the head of Earth's Special Intelligence Division embedded within Alliance space, Volkov served as the crucial link between Admiral Wells' battle groups and Commander Ray's diplomatic team. "Confirmation on target designations," reported analyst Marcus Ose, his fingers moving rapidly across multiple interfaces. "Krivak's battle carriers have entered final approach vectors toward Paloran homeworld defensive perimeter. Estimated time to weapons range, 17 minutes. Volkov nodded, her expression betraying nothing of the tension coiling within. "And Alliance response?" "Still deliberating," Osai replied with poorly concealed disgust. "The Defense Committee has upgraded the threat assessment to severe, but remains divided on authorization protocols for full military mobilization." "Of course they are," Volkov muttered. She activated her secure communication link to the Thermopylae. "Admiral, we have visual confirmation of Krivak's attack formation. Alliance defense forces remain at standard readiness levels with no emergency protocols initiated." Admiral Wells' voice came through clearly. "Understood, Commander. Casualty projections if Paloran defenses face the Krivak's assault without intervention." "Minimum 70,000 civilian casualties in the first wave alone, sir," she answered grimly. "The Paloran orbital habitats have no meaningful evacuation protocols." A brief silence followed, the sound of a man weighing consequences that would ripple across galactic politics for generations. "The line has been crossed," Wells finally stated. "Initiate Operation Thunderstrike. All battle groups deploy to predetermined coordinates. Ground teams activate and secure designated high-value targets. We end this now." "Acknowledged," Volkov replied, already signaling her team. "Thunderstrike protocols engaged. May our ancestors forgive us for what we're about to reveal." Throughout Alliance space, in hidden bases and unmarked vessels, on colony worlds and space stations, human operatives who had maintained deep cover for months or years received the same encrypted signal. Within moments, Earth's carefully constructed facade of limited military capability shattered as humanity's true strength emerged from the shadows. In the Alliance Grand Council chamber, Commander Alina Reyes stood silently behind Ambassador Nakamura as the Paloran representative desperately appealed for immediate military assistance. "Our orbital defenses cannot withstand this assault," the Paloran pleaded, his translucent appendages trembling. "Millions of citizens occupy our outer habitats. Without support, they face annihilation." High Counselor Drexen, who had so confidently dismissed human security concerns weeks earlier, now appeared diminished. "The Defense Committee requires additional time to coordinate a proper response. We cannot act hastily and risk." "With respect, High Counselor," interrupted Ambassador Nakamura, his voice cutting through the chamber with unexpected authority, "there is no additional time." All eyes turned to the human delegation, normally so deferential in council proceedings. What exactly are you suggesting, Ambassador? Demanded Matriarch Zivnara, her purple skin darkening with suspicion. Nakamura straightened, suddenly seeming taller than his modest human frame. I am not suggesting anything, Matriarch. I am informing the Council that Earth forces are already responding to the Krivak's aggression. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. The what forces? Stammered Council Arbiter Xantil. And did you say Krivaks? We have no identification of the attacking. Earth has identified the aggressors as the Krivak's Dominion, Nakamura continued calmly. We have been monitoring their movements for some time, and as for our forces... He nodded to Commander Reyes, who activated her communication device. Reyes to Thunderstrike Command. Diplomatic protocols suspended. You are cleared to engage. The central holographic display in the Council chamber suddenly activated without authorization, showing tactical feeds from multiple sectors simultaneously. The Council representatives watched in shocked silence as dozens of advanced warships materialized near Paloran space, dropping their stealth fields to reveal vessels far larger and more heavily armed than anything humanity had acknowledged possessing. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Councillor Drexen, rising from his seat. These ships cannot be. His words died as the tactical display showed the human vessels launching what appeared to be thousands of small objects toward the approaching Krivak's fleet. Microkinetic interceptors, explained Commander Reyes calmly. Developed during Earth's Third World War, refined for space combat during our lunar conflicts. Each carries a targeting system capable of distinguishing civilian from military vessels and is programmed to avoid collateral damage. The Council watched in stunned silence as the tiny weapons swarmed around the Krivak's ships like angry insects, precisely targeting propulsion systems and weapons arrays while avoiding critical life support. Within minutes, the entire Krivak's attack force hung disabled in space, their carefully planned assault neutralized with surgical precision. That's impossible, whispered Matriarch Zivnara. No species possesses such targeting capability, and those vessels, they weren't there moments ago. Quantum diffusion technology, Reyes stated matter-of-factly. It allows our ships to remain undetectable until they choose to reveal themselves. Ambassador Nakamura stepped forward. The Council should be aware that similar operations are currently underway in 7 other sectors where Krivak's forces were preparing attacks. Additionally, Earth Special Forces have secured evidence from Krivak's command centers proving their infiltration of Alliance security protocols. The shock in the chamber was palpable. Species that had regarded humans as diplomatic newcomers now stared at their representatives with new eyes, not just surprise, but unmistakable fear. You've been deceiving the Alliance since your admission, accused Councillor Drexen, finding his voice at last. These military capabilities were never disclosed during your species assessment. Nor were they asked about specifically, countered Nakamura smoothly. Earth presented exactly what the admission protocols required, our official defense doctrine and recognized military assets. The Alliance assumed our capabilities based on our technological development timeline without considering that human history has been defined by conflict and its resolution. Commander Reyes stepped forward. While the Alliance evolved through cooperation, humanity evolved through competition, including warfare. We developed technologies specifically because we needed to protect ourselves from ourselves. Now we've used those same technologies to protect Alliance citizens when your protocols failed them. The Council chamber erupted into overlapping translations and exclamations. Some representatives demanded answers, others called for human sanctions, while a few, notably those whose worlds had been targeted by the Krivaks, remained silently thoughtful. Aboard the UEF Thermopylae, Admiral Wells watched the aftermath of humanity's first true galactic military operation. The ship's command center hummed with controlled activity as reports flowed in from all engagement zones. All primary targets neutralized, Admiral, reported Captain Roskov. Krivak's command vessels secured with minimal casualties. Our boarding teams are extracting intelligence data and securing prisoners. Wells nodded, studying the tactical overview. And the ground operations. Lieutenant Commander Volkov reports complete success. Her teams have secured 3 Krivax forward bases within Alliance territory and recovered extensive evidence of their infiltration network. The Admiral allowed himself a small smile. The Krivax prepared for every contingency except one. They never knew we existed, at least not as we truly are. His communication system chimed with an incoming transmission from Earth. General Okoro's face appeared, her expression grave. Admiral, I've received your preliminary battle assessment. Impressive work. Thank you, General. The operation proceeded even more smoothly than simulations predicted. The Krivax were completely unprepared for our level of coordination and technological capabilities. Okoro nodded. The military victory appears complete. The political fallout, however, is just beginning. The Alliance Council has called for an emergency review of Earth's membership status and is demanding full disclosure of all human military capabilities. Wells frowned slightly. That was anticipated. Ambassador Nakamura's team is prepared to manage the diplomatic response. They'll need to do more than manage it, Okoro replied. The fear we're seeing from some council members exceeds our worst-case projections. They're not just surprised by our capabilities, they're terrified by how effectively we concealed them. They should be grateful we used those capabilities to save their citizens, Wells countered, a rare edge entering his voice. From their perspective, Admiral, they've just discovered that the newcomer they've been patronizing possesses the ability to bypass their most sophisticated defenses and neutralize military forces they couldn't even identify. Okoro's expression softened slightly. Put yourself in their position. How would Earth's leaders react if they discovered an allegedly minor power had been hiding world-ending capabilities? Wells considered this, then nodded reluctantly. Point taken, General. What are our orders? Maintain current positions, but stand down from active combat operations. Ambassador Nakamura will lead our diplomatic response. Commander Reyes is being recalled to the Thermopylae. The Council has specifically requested she not participate in the emergency sessions. They fear her, Wells observed. With good reason, Okoro replied. She's the physical embodiment of what they've just learned about humanity, civilized diplomacy concealing lethal capability. Your task now is to secure the Krivax prisoners and evidence. We need irrefutable proof that this intervention was necessary. As the transmission ended, Admiral Wells turned to the tactical display, where human vessels were now securing the disabled Krivax ships. The operation had been flawless, the culmination of centuries of human military evolution executed with precision against an unsuspecting adversary. We've revealed ourselves, he said quietly to Captain Roscoe. The galaxy now knows what humanity truly is. And what are we, sir? She asked, studying his expression. Admiral Wells watched as medical shuttles departed the Thermopylae, heading toward the damaged Paloran habitats to provide emergency assistance. We are what we've always been, Captain, he answered. Predators with conscience, warriors with restraint, the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and perhaps the only ones who understand the responsibility that comes with that danger. Throughout Alliance space, as human forces secured their objectives with ruthless efficiency, the galaxy witnessed the unveiling of a species unlike any they had encountered before. Humanity had hidden in plain sight, playing the role of diplomatic newcomers while preparing for a threat the Alliance couldn't, or wouldn't, see. The mask had dropped, the Predator was revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Predator unveiled. The diplomatic wing of Alliance Central Command had been designed to inspire awe and foster cooperation among diverse species. Its soaring ceilings accommodated the tallest representatives, while atmospheric controls maintained conditions suitable for beings that breathed everything from oxygen to methane. Today, however, the grand architecture failed to achieve its purpose, as tension permeated every molecule of air in the chamber. Ambassador Toshiro Nakamura sat alone at the center of a semicircular table, facing the 13 members of the Special Inquiry Council. For the first time since joining the Alliance, The human delegation had been reduced to a single representative, a clear message that Earth's standing had fundamentally changed. This emergency session of the Special Inquiry Council is now in session, announced Arbiter Xantil, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated severe stress. We convene to address the unprecedented military actions undertaken by Earth forces without Alliance authorization and the deliberate concealment of advanced capabilities in violation of membership transparency protocols. Nakamura remained perfectly composed, hands folded on the table before him. Arbiter, if I may, I would note for the record that Earth disputes the characterization of our actions as violations. We are prepared to demonstrate that all disclosure requirements were technically fulfilled during our admission process. Technically, echoed Matriarch Zivnara with undisguised hostility. A telling choice of words, Ambassador. You provided information that was factually correct while deliberately fostering misconceptions about your species' true nature. Nakamura inclined his head slightly. Misconceptions that the Alliance chose to embrace based on assumptions about evolutionary development patterns. At no point did Earth representatives claim we possessed less capability than we demonstrated yesterday. High Counselor Drexen's appendages rippled with agitation. You allowed us to believe your species was barely capable of interstellar travel, let alone quantum diffusion technology and automated combat systems centuries beyond what your development timeline suggested possible. We allowed you to underestimate us, corrected Nakamura calmly. A strategy that proved fortunate for the 3 billion Alliance citizens whose lives were saved by our intervention. An uncomfortable silence followed this statement. The unavoidable truth that, regardless of diplomatic protocols breached, Earth's actions had prevented a massacre. The Council acknowledges the Krivak's threat was real, and that Earth's military response saved countless lives, Arbiter Xantil finally conceded. However, this does not address the fundamental issue. Earth concealed its true nature from the moment of first contact. Nakamura's expression remained unreadable. What nature would that be, Arbiter? You are predators, stated Elder Vox of the Morcadian hierarchy, speaking for the first time. Unlike the others, his tone held no accusation, only clinical assessment. Your species evolved through competition rather than cooperation. You developed technologies to kill each other more efficiently before turning those same technologies toward space exploration. And yet, Nakamura countered softly, when we discovered the capacity to destroy ourselves utterly, we chose restraint. When we developed weapons that could sterilize planets, we established ethical frameworks to govern their use. Humanity's history is not just one of conflict, Elder Vox, but of overcoming our predatory instincts through conscience and compassion. Before the Elder could respond, the chamber's security alert system activated. Massive display screens flickered to life, showing Admiral Wells standing on the bridge of the Thermopylae. Forgive the interruption, Wells stated without preamble. Council members, regardless of your current deliberations regarding Earth's status, you need to see this immediately. The displays split to show footage from what appeared to be interrogation rooms where Krivak's commanders were being held. Translation software converted their statements to Alliance standard language. Infiltration successful for 16 cycles, one Krivak's officer was saying. Our operatives achieved Level 1 access to Alliance defense protocols through the Regulatory Oversight Committee. Another recording showed a different commander. The Alliance species evolved without significant predatory adaptation. They lacked the instinctive understanding of deception that makes conquest possible. Only the humans demonstrated potential to recognize our strategies. They were designated first-strike targets in the invasion plan. A third recording revealed a high-ranking Krivax displaying star charts. Phase 2 would have targeted these 14 population centers simultaneously, overwhelming remaining Alliance defenses while our sleeper agents disabled communication networks. Conservative casualty estimates, 12 billion in the first wave alone. As the recordings continued, the Council members' expressions shifted from suspicion toward Earth to horror at how completely they had been infiltrated. The evidence was irrefutable. The Krivax had spent decades preparing for this invasion, embedding agents throughout Alliance infrastructure. This intelligence is being transmitted to all Council members simultaneously, Admiral Wells explained. Earth Special Forces recovered it from secured Krivax command centers during yesterday's operation. These weren't isolated attacks. They were the first phase of a comprehensive invasion plan. The Admiral's eyes locked with Ambassador Nakamura's through the screen, a moment of silent communication between military and diplomatic leadership. The Alliance should also be aware, Wells continued, that we've identified 37 suspected Krivax deep cover agents currently serving in various Alliance administrative positions, including 3 within Central Command itself. The Council chamber erupted in chaos as security alerts sounded, and emergency protocols activated throughout the station. Arbiter Xantil attempted to restore order, but the revelation that Krivax infiltrators might be among them shattered any pretense of calm deliberation. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the observation deck of the Thermopylae, watching the tactical display as Alliance security forces, now working alongside human intelligence operatives, began the delicate process of identifying and containing suspected Krivax agents. "They're finally taking the threat seriously," observed Lieutenant Chen, who had accompanied her from the diplomatic mission to rejoin Wells' command. "Only took an existential crisis and the revelation of Earth's military capabilities to get their attention." "They weren't prepared to think like predators," Reyes replied quietly. "The Alliance evolved through mutual benefit and cooperation. The concept of infiltration for conquest is almost incomprehensible to their cultural framework." "Unlike humans," Chen noted, "we've been playing these games since the first city-states sent spies to their neighbors." Reyes nodded. "We understand the predatory mindset because we've spent our entire history struggling against it in ourselves. That's what the Council doesn't grasp yet. We're not dangerous despite our evolution, but because of it." The door to the observation deck slid open as Admiral Wells entered, his uniform immaculate despite having been on duty for nearly 30 consecutive hours. "Commander," he acknowledged, "excellent work coordinating with Alliance security. Your intelligence frameworks are giving them a fighting chance to identify the remaining Krivax agents." "Thank you, Admiral. They're quick studies once they accept the reality of the threat." She gestured toward the tactical display. "How are containment operations proceeding?" "All identified Krivax vessels and bases are secured. The evidence we've recovered exceeds even our projections. They've been planning this invasion for nearly a century." Wells' expression darkened. "And they specifically identified humanity as the only species capable of detecting their strategy." "Which explains why they targeted worlds close to Earth first," Chen interjected. "They hoped to eliminate us before we could reveal their plans to the Alliance." "They understood us better than our supposed allies did," Reyes noted with irony. "They recognized fellow predators." Admiral Wells moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars beyond. "The diplomatic situation remains complicated. Ambassador Nakamura reports that while immediate hostility toward Earth has diminished in light of the evidence, profound anxiety remains. We saved them, but we terrified them in the process." "By existing as we truly are," Reyes said softly. "Precisely. The Special Inquiry Council has temporarily suspended its investigation of Earth's disclosure violations to focus on the Krivax threat, but the fundamental question remains unresolved." Wells turned to face his officers. "How does the Alliance incorporate a species that possesses both the capability and the temperament to destroy them, should we choose to?" "They need to understand that we choose not to," Chen replied. "That the same evolutionary path that made us dangerous also gave us the ethical frameworks to contain that danger." Reyes considered this. "Perhaps that's our true value to the Alliance, not just our military capabilities, but our unique perspective. We're the only species that understands predation from the inside." Wells nodded slowly. "The guardian who knows the mind of the wolf because wolf blood runs in its veins." Their conversation was interrupted by an incoming transmission from Ambassador Nakamura. His image appeared on the nearest display, his diplomatic composure showing slight cracks of fatigue. Admiral, Commander, the situation is evolving rapidly. The evidence you provided has forced a fundamental reassessment of Alliance security protocols. They're requesting direct assistance from Earth's intelligence services to establish new safeguards against infiltration. A significant shift in attitude, Wells observed. Born of necessity rather than trust, Nakamura clarified. However, it presents an opportunity. The Council has proposed a new arrangement. Earth will be granted special status within the Alliance, with primary responsibility for security operations and threat assessment. Reyes frowned. They want to outsource their protection to us. Effectively, yes, the ambassador confirmed. In exchange, all questions about our disclosure practices would be permanently set aside, and Earth would receive significantly expanded resource rights in disputed territories. They fear us, so they're trying to make us partners with special privileges, Chen summarized. A logical approach when confronted by a superior predator, Wells noted. If you can't defend against it, align with it. Ambassador Nakamura's expression remained carefully neutral. The United Earth Federation Security Council is deliberating the offer now. I've been instructed to neither accept nor reject until we better understand the full implications. What's your assessment, Ambassador? Asked Reyes. Nakamura considered his words carefully. The Alliance needs Earth more than they're willing to admit. They've built a peaceful multi-species civilization without developing the defensive instincts necessary to protect it. We possess those instincts, honed through millennia of conflict and tempered by hard-won wisdom about the cost of that conflict. You believe we should accept this special status, Wells concluded. I believe we already hold this position in reality, Admiral. The only question is whether we'll formalize it and establish clear parameters, or continue the charade of being equal members when we all now know differently. As the conversation continued, Commander Reyes turned her attention back to the tactical display, where Alliance worlds glowed like jewels against the darkness of space. Worlds that still existed because humanity had embraced its predatory nature while simultaneously transcending it, becoming something unique in the galaxy. We are the wolves who chose to guard the flock, she murmured, not because we ceased to be wolves, but because we became something more. Throughout Alliance space, as the initial shock of Earth's revelation gave way to a more complex reckoning, a new understanding began to emerge. Humanity was indeed dangerous, perhaps the most dangerous species yet encountered. But they were predators who had chosen protection over predation, who understood the darkness because they had faced it within themselves. The mask had been removed, revealing not just teeth, but also eyes that watched vigilantly for threats others couldn't see. For better or worse, the galaxy now knew what humanity truly was and what it had chosen to become.